feel that chill, smell that fresh cut grass. I'm back in my helmet, cleats, and shoulder pads. Standing in the huddle, listening to the call. Fans going crazy for the boys of fall.
All right, it's time to talk about the boys of fall. College football, Big 12 games around this area, and the top 25 upset special uh, possibilities, I should say. Possible upsets, in my opinion. Not necessarily the teams that are on upset alert. First of all, staying here in the Big 12, up the road in Stillwater, they're back home after a hard, tough loss to Arizona. They'll try to get back on the winning streak. Louisiana Lafayette comes back to Stillwater, where they haven't lost, by the way, since we beat them Landry's junior year 2 years ago. TCU's finally welcomed into the Big 12. They had their first Big 12 game. Now it's official. It's their first Big 12 conference tournament game, kind of a thing going on. It's top 16 TCU at Kansas. They'll play them in Lawrence. Lawrence is can't. I like TCU in this matchup. Kansas is coming off a heartbreaker to Rice, and that was such a hard loss for Kansas and those guys that I just think it's just going to trickle over. And it's not a good time for top 25 team to be coming in, but they are 16th ranked in the country, so I like TCU. James Madison is being basically hosted by one of the other Big 12 newbies. 9th ranked West Virginia will be hosting them. Actually, technically, the game is going to be played at FedEx Field, where the Washington Redskins play their home games. So that's where the game's going to be played, but it's basically a home game for West Virginia, where they'll play James Madison. Watch out here on the next one. This is one of those top 25, top 15 upset teams. This isn't like an upset special kind of a thing, but don't be surprised if this game's a little closer than the experts think. North Texas, hosted by 15th ranked Kansas State. It's a home game for Kansas State right before they go in for a revenge game against Oklahoma. They're playing North Texas, so it should be a pretty easy win. But, I mean, watch out here. North Texas could pull a Louisiana Monroe and really do some damage to the Kansas State crowd. Could, being the operative word. I do not think that they will. I think Kansas State still wins this. Maybe, like I said, closer than the experts think. Maybe a score or two. I do not think it'll be a blowout by any means. Sam Houston State will be at Baylor. It's about time this team get ranked. I'm very impressed with what they've done without Robert Griffin III, without Kendall Wright, without these guys, and now they're still winning ball games. In my opinion, they're going to be at least 3-0, 2-0, 3-0 to start the season, meaning that, yes, they do beat Sam Houston State. Western Illinois at Iowa State. Iowa State has proven that they can win the close games and the far-away off games against fair to Midland teams. When they play fair to Midland teams, like Iowa last year, they blew out Iowa, and then they skimmed by Iowa this year. They've played Oklahoma State. They beat Oklahoma State. They've played Texas tough. They played Nebraska tough when they were here in the Big 12 with us. So I really think that Iowa State is just going to win this game by a pretty comfortable margin. My other upset maybe capable team, Big 12 wise. Texas at Ole Miss. The University of Texas is a team, in my opinion, I've got to see it to believe it. I hear from fans on radio, on the TV, from my friends. Everybody thinks that they're back. Texas is back. I don't know about that. We got to wait and see on this. And it's going to be pretty interesting, particularly here. Ole Miss, I know this, as much fun as I have tailgating, and as much fun as everybody has tailgating here at these college football venues, Ole Miss probably does the best job. Now, what they have to do is they have to get those tailgaters into the field, into the football stadium. If they can get those tailgaters into the football stadium, you never know what's going to happen. It could be an upset, could not be. I still have Texas winning this game, but closer than the experts think again. Top 25 upsets, and that's it. My Sooners are off. They deserve a week off, getting ready for Kansas State next week. As far as the national scene, top 25 scenes, the Wake Forest Demon Deacons are at Florida State. Florida State's a team. I like Florida State. It's just like Oklahoma. They're highly ranked. They're 5th in the country. They've taken a little bit of an easier scheduling road. They played us the last 2 years. They were supposed to play West Virginia this year and next year. They've decided to not do that. They've decided to take a little bit of an easier competitional road. And quite yet, it hasn't hurt them. They're still in the top. I don't think it's gonna hurt them here. They're gonna send Wake Forest a message, and possibly to the rest of the ACC. But remember this: just like when North Texas and Kansas State play in Manhattan, when Wake Forest and Florida State play in Tallahassee, you just remember. Speaking of Kansas State, Brent Venables and Clemson are there, niddling their thumbs, twisting their thumbs, twisting their thumbs, twisting their thumbs, twiddling and twiddling and twiddly-dumbing it, waiting for next week. When they get an opportunity, they'll have all their players back, and they're gonna be hyped up for this game. Florida State maybe thinking about too much about revenge and kind of overlooking Wake Forest. As I said, I don't think that happens, but upsets happen. Maybe here. But I don't think it will. California at Ohio State University, ranked 12th in the country. I like Ohio State. I like Jim Tressel. I think, and I liked him when Jim Tressel was there, and I like Urban Meyer now. They're all good coaches. They know what they're doing. Maybe not going to win their conference, but they can send a message that they're still a good team. Here you go. They're in Columbus. Should be a pretty easy win for Ohio State. Virginia Tech / Pittsburgh. The Panthers of the Big East. If Pitt wants to pick up their game and get there to where I think that they should be with USF. With Rutgers. They're both playing tonight, by the way. If they want to get to that level and more, they got to win this game. A home game against Virginia Tech. A former Big East opponent, now in the ACC, ranked 13th in the country, one of the national powers. Not going to happen. I think Virginia Tech wins this game. But don't put it past Pittsburgh. Whenever you mark Pittsburgh out, you just ask Oklahoma fans. There's a reason why we didn't get one of these Festival Championship hats in 2007, Sam's freshman year. There's a reason for that. Pittsburgh came in, shocked the world, and won in West Virginia when no one else thought that they could. Don't mark out this Pittsburgh team. I don't think that they're going to be able to beat Virginia Tech. But don't be surprised if they do. Number 1, Alabama at ranked Arkansas. This is one that's really interesting because Alabama has the entire team coming back. They're ready to rock and roll. Arkansas had a 28-0 lead. Okay? They had 28-7, 28-3, something like that. They got into that mode that I don't want to see Kansas State get in. I don't want to see Florida State get in. Hey, we have a big enough lead. Next week's going to be awesome. We have game day coming in. We're looking good. We're doing great. And then what happens? Their quarterback goes down. They blow a 28-point lead and lose in overtime and not to Louisiana or Louisiana State, I should say. Not to LSU. Not to a team from the SEC. To Louisiana Monroe. Yeah, Louisiana Monroe. That's all that needs to be said on that. Okay? Dark Horse ACC team here, all right? They need to be ranked. I think they will be ranked. I don't think... Well, they can't win the conference in North Carolina. North Carolina at Louisville. I think North Carolina is a good team. They're from the ACC, one of the power conferences. They want to send a message to Louisville. This is a great way to do it. National stage, right here, right now. I'm going to pick it. I'm going to take it. Give me North Carolina. By the way, speaking of Louisville, I don't want them in this conference. I think that we're dead straight on where it is. We're stronger than where we were in the Big 12. Leave it the way it is, gentlemen and ladies. Leave it the way it is. Because if you do this, then you have to find one more team. And I don't know if you can find one. Chris Fowler, Lee Corso, Kirk Herbstreit, the new ESPN girl. They're all going to be, and it's been a long time since they've been here, in Knoxville for Florida Opt Tennessee. This one's hard. You're looking at a Florida team that in 2 games, not very impressive as far as what you would expect Florida to be. A tight game against Bowling Green. Bowling Green. And then last weekend they played the Aggies, who hadn't won a Big 12, SEC game in a long time. They hadn't won a Big 12 game in a long time either, by the way. But coming off their first road to where A&M, they hadn't seen anything. They didn't have any tape, did Florida. So I'm going to give them a little bit of a bye on the first half. Second half, Florida comes out and just hammers them hard. Hammer. Very impressive in the second half. But show me 4 quarters of football. Plus, the man that does the theme song to my college football picks, Kenny Chesney, you know he's going to be ready to rock and roll. And so are the 100,000 fans at Tennessee. That's a lot of fans, by the way. That's a lot of people. I like Tennessee in that match. Fight on with USC and the Stanford Cardinal. Goodness gracious. I like Stanford in this game. Road test, not very impressive for USC last time. Now, given the game was in New York against a decent Syracuse team. But this time they're playing Stanford. It's a conference game. Will they be able to play under the lights? Everybody's talking about Oregon and USC. Oregon and USC. Oregon and USC. Everybody's pushing for that championship game. Don't sleep on this Stanford team. I think at home, I think Stanford gets it done. But I wouldn't be surprised if USC did. I'm taking Stanford, but don't be surprised if USC comes in and wins this game. A team that the Big 12, my Big 12 team, Oklahoma, will host later on in the year. Notre Dame is on the road at Michigan State. I like Notre Dame in this game. Notre Dame, they remember what happened with the fake field goal and the heart attack. They remember that game. It's hard to forget. That was a classic game. Classic game. Needs to be on ESPN Classic every single day. Every single month. Every single month. Every single year. That's what college football is all about. Watching Notre Dame lose by a fake field goal at the end of the game. You cannot help but laugh unless you are a Notre Dame fan. With that being said, I really don't think Notre Dame lets that happen again. Not to mention, Michigan State's playing with a freshman quarterback. A young quarterback, I should say. Now, as is Notre Dame, but as we've seen, if Notre Dame's young gun doesn't play well, they're not afraid to put in the other guy. They're not afraid to put in someone else. That's always the way that Coach Kelly works, and will always be the way that Coach Kelly works. Sticking with the religion thing going on, the Mormons. BYU, top 25 BYU, at Utah. The Battle of Utah here. I like Brigham Young. BYU's a good team. I really think that BYU is one of those teams that you should really watch out for. Don't be surprised if they do not join a big-time conference here coming up here pretty soon. At least in football. If they want a chance at a, and looks like it's gonna have to happen in the next 2 or 3 years. They're gonna have to join one of the big boys, the Big 12s. They don't want to do because of their, they don't want to travel back on Sundays. Looks like they're just gonna have to suck that up, be a man about it, and play in a big time league, and play and fly back on those Saturdays and Sunday mornings, because it sounds to me like you're gonna have to have those kind of ball games if you're gonna do it that way. Particularly with the playoff system in the way that it is. I think the playoff system needs to be a heck of a lot more than 4 teams. But, and finally, this season at least, Houston at UCLA. I have to say I was very impressed with UCLA. UCLA is a good team. They just upset Nebraska. I do not think that they're going to let Houston come in and do that. By the way, this is the same Houston team that that did have an impressive win, but 2 weeks ago they did pull Louisiana Monroe. They did pull in Arkansas with losing to a team that's probably worse than ULM and Texas State in their first year of collegiate football. Wow. That hurts to say, I know, but it's probably true. It is true. That is the end of it. That is the end of this week. All right. And quick little nuggets here. Notre Dame has decided to move out collegiate affiliations as far as conferences are concerned. It looks like, according to ESPN, that they are going to go from the Big East, where they are now, where they, at least in where they are now, in the Big East, everywhere else but college football, basketball, baseball, hockey, lacrosse, everything else right now is Big East power. They're going to move over to the ACC, where North Carolina is always good. Duke's always good. Those are just a couple of the teams in all sports. But you guessed it, because of the deal with NBC, but college football. So the ACC is getting the Catholics of Notre Dame in every single conference team except for football, where they will stay Indy, at least for now. But don't be surprised if they go to the ACC completely when this NBC's deal's done. And at least for right now, they have offered, and the ACC has accepted, that they will play at least 5 ACC teams in non-conference action for the next years coming up. That's it. I enjoyed this. Be sure to join me again next week. There will be no OU post-game show this week because there's no OU post to show. So until next week, when I do this Big 12 and Top 25 Upset Special again, this is Harry James Taylor. This is a.k.a. 1982 Boomer Sooner. And as always, everybody Boomer Sooner.
It wasn't just anybody in that club. It took every ounce of heart and sweat and blood to get to wear those game day jerseys down the hall. Kings of the school, man, where the boys are fall.